Now, Russia unveiled its latest nuclear submarine this weekend, with the country's defense minister claiming the vessel would, quote, protect its national interests in various regions of the world's oceans.
A lone Russian submarine just limped through the Mediterranean with a NATO escort watching every move. Not because Russia is a threat right now, because it's barely holding together. This is the story of how the most feared undersea fleet of the Cold War got reduced to a single, broken boat limping toward a repair dock, while NATO leadership stood on a podium and watched it happen. The war in Ukraine didn't just drain Russia's army. It hollowed out its navy. And right now, you're about to see exactly how bad it's gotten. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. At its Cold War peak, the Soviet Navy packed the Mediterranean with warships. Cruisers, destroyers, attack submarines, ballistic missile submarines, support ships, dozens of vessels running constant patrols, watching NATO's every move. The US 6th Fleet owned those waters, and the Soviets wanted them to know it wasn't going to stay that way. This wasn't a visit. It was a permanent challenge. The Mediterranean sits at the crossroads of Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Whoever controls those sea lanes controls a lot. The Soviets knew that, so they kept their squadron out there year-round, not just to fight if it came to it, but to make NATO plan around them. Every NATO exercise, every carrier group movement, every supply line had to account for Soviet submarines and surface ships sitting right there in the water. That's real strategic weight. Now there's one submarine. One. It didn't lose a fight. There was no battle, no ambush, no moment where NATO blew the fleet out of the water. The ships just stopped showing up, pulled back to home ports, worn out from years of deferred maintenance, or quietly stripped for parts to keep other vessels running. The Mediterranean squadron didn't get beaten. It got bled out. The war in Ukraine is the reason. When Russia rolled across the border in 2022, the plan was fast and decisive. Take the country in weeks, absorb the shock, move on. That's not what happened. For years in, the army is grinding forward kilometer by kilometer, burning through shells, vehicles, fuel, and money at a rate nobody planned for. And when a land war swallows your budget whole, everything else gets cut, including the Navy. Surface ships that used to rotate through the Mediterranean on a regular schedule are staying home now. Some of it is defensive. You don't want your warships far away when your coastline is under pressure. But a lot of it is simpler than that. There aren't enough trained crews. There aren't enough spare parts. There isn't enough support infrastructure to keep ships running at that kind of range when your defense industry is already stretched thin trying to feed a ground war. So the submarine shows up, and it shows up surfaced near a NATO base, which is not how a healthy submarine operates. A submarine's entire value is that nobody knows where it is. The moment it breaks the surface in a place like that, it's already lost its main advantage. You surface when you have to, not when you want to. The Moskva going down in 2022 was a turning point people talked about. Russia's Black Sea flagship, sunk by Ukrainian missiles, that was a visible, dramatic loss. But the slow disappearance of the Mediterranean task force barely made headlines, because it didn't happen in one moment. It happened one canceled deployment at a time, one ship quietly pulled from rotation, one patrol that never got scheduled. That's how a fleet dies when there's no war to blame it on. Not with a bang, just with a long list of reasons why this particular ship isn't ready right now, and then the next one, and then the next. What's left is one submarine trying to finish a patrol it clearly couldn't finish, and NATO ships right alongside it the whole way home, watching every meter of that slow, surface-level crawl through the channel. Healthy submarines don't surface near NATO bases. They don't surface at all if they can help it. So when this one broke the surface right there in plain view, something on board had already forced the crew's hand. Think about what a nuclear submarine actually is. It's not just a big metal tube with torpedoes. It's dozens of systems all running at the same time, deep underwater, for weeks or months with no outside help. Propulsion, reactor cooling, navigation, life support, weapons control, all of it has to work together all the time. When one system starts to fail, it pulls on the others. And the crew can't call for a tow. They can't pull over. Their only options are fix it down there in the dark or come up. The failures that force a submarine to the surface tend to fall into a few categories. Propulsion problems that slow the boat or kill it entirely. Reactor cooling issues, which nobody wants to let go too long. Flooding in compartments that aren't supposed to have water in them. Or failures in the systems that keep the crew breathing. Any one of those is enough. And when it happens, that submarine stops being a stealth asset and starts being a slow, visible boat trying to reach the nearest port before things get worse. Russia's submarine fleet has had maintenance problems for years. The number of boats on paper and the number actually ready to sail are two very different numbers, and that gap has been getting wider as money and parts flow toward the land war instead. So it's not a shock that this particular boat ran into trouble. What's notable is that it happened out there, far from home, with NATO watching the whole thing unfold. When NATO ships and aircraft moved in to escort the submarine through the channel, that's standard procedure on paper. You track foreign military vessels in your waters. You shadow them. You log everything. But the optics here are something else entirely. Because this wasn't a Russian submarine cutting through at speed, running deep, doing what these boats are built to do. This was a crippled vessel moving slowly on the surface with a NATO escort right alongside it. You've seen Hunt for Red October, right? The whole story only works because the submarine is invisible, fast, silent, unpredictable. Nobody knows where it is or what it's going to do next. That's the threat. Now flip it. A submarine everyone can see, going slow, with NATO ships and planes boxing it in the whole way home. That's not a threat. That's a photo opportunity. And NATO took the photo. Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, was there when the alliance publicly acknowledged the escort operation. They didn't quietly file a report. They put leadership in front of cameras and made sure the world knew they had eyes on that boat every single meter of the way. That's a deliberate choice. You do that when you want people to see what you're seeing. Whatever broke on that submarine, propulsion, cooling, life support, something else entirely, the mechanical damage is almost secondary now. The real damage is what everybody just watched happen. Russia's last Mediterranean submarine couldn't finish its patrol without turning into a public event. It lost the one thing that makes a submarine dangerous. It lost the ability to disappear. Naval power isn't just about having submarines. It's about keeping them running, keeping them hidden, and keeping them out there. Russia has lost all three in the Mediterranean right now, and the war in Ukraine is exactly why. The fleet didn't lose a battle. It just ran out of runway. What you're watching play out in the Mediterranean is what happens when a military goes all in on one front and everything else quietly falls apart. That broken submarine wasn't a threat. It was a warning sign. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict.